What's going on, everybody? FutureDDS family. On this installment of the DSE series, we have Kyle Shtern with us from Columbia University College of Dental Medicine. Kyle, thanks for taking some time out and speaking with us, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Excited to talk to you guys.
Nice, man. Nice, man. Thanks again. If you could, man, just reintroduce yourself. Let the viewers learn a little bit more about you, where you're from, what year you are at school, where you went to undergrad, what you majored in, and then if you took any time in between, undergrad and dental school, what you did during that time.
Sure. So I'm originally from northern New Jersey. I went to Bucknell University in central Pennsylvania. It's a pretty small school. Um, I majored in cell biology and biochemistry, and I went straight through. I didn't take any time off. That's just kind of something that that's something I wanted to do. And I guess I was fortunate enough to be able to make that transition. Um, Yeah, I'm a first year student, first year dental student at Columbia University. Um, and other than that, yeah.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Covered all the bases on that one. Okay, so this is the burning question. All the pre-dents out there, I'm sure have, and I'm sure you had this question when you were preparing for the DAT and all. What is your number one tip or tool that you use to do well on the DAT or to get the score that you got?
Right. So I think, as far as DAT resources go, there's a few that are pretty ubiquitous. So the DAT Destroyer, a lot of people were using at the time when I was taking the exam, and I found it to be really helpful. I thought that the questions were a lot harder than the actual questions on the DAT, and thus you had to know the material really well. And often the first time you go through the Destroyer books, you get a lot of those questions wrong.
Yep.
And the process of getting those questions wrong and figuring out why you're wrong and working through the solutions really helps learn and solidify the information. And the other resource that I use, and I think a lot of people also use, is DAT Bootcamp, um, which is actually, I think, made by Columbia Dental alumni. So it's kind of funny. Um, but yeah, so that's a really good resource that's almost like all encompassing. It's got resources for all the various sections of the DAT, and it also, back when I was using Bootcamp, it actually directed you to use the Destroyer. So it incorporates the DAT Destroyer into the schedule and the resources that it uses. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but those are the resources. Now, I would say that from talking to people in school and people at other dental schools, I would say that not everybody needs the same amount of time to study for the DAT. So you really have to ask yourself how well you feel, like how well prepared you are in those basic sciences and the biology, the chemistry, um, from your undergrad courses.
Right.
And based on how comfortable you are with those courses, you need to decide how much time you think you need to give yourself to study for the DAT. So I know some people who studied for a few weeks.
Right.
Some people studied for a month, longer than that. I myself studied for 10 weeks in the summer, pretty much 10 weeks straight, all day, every day. It was kind of a crazy summer. I would say, like, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to study like that. I know, like, some people, like, sometimes people have internships or they're doing really cool research, which is awesome. And sometimes people, I think, just need to work to support themselves. So that's definitely not, like a negative, but there's just things you have to consider and how much time you have to give yourself. I think I was fortunate enough that I could take those 10 weeks off to solely study. And I I think that got the job done. But
Yeah, you made it into school, I'm sure.
yeah, right. Like, I think the DAT is a means to an end, right? It gets you in the door, it gets you to that interview, and I think as long as you get above like a certain score, or like a certain range of scores, you're good, and you don't really need to worry about going to you don't need to worry about getting a 30 or 28 or 27, because once you get above, I mean, I don't know, what do you think? I think like maybe like 19 to 21.
Yeah, I think if you get in that range, especially if you're like well rounded and you got like your GPA solid, you got other things going on. I think like 19, 21 will definitely get you on the radar to get, to actually get into the application pool and be considered competitive, and actually get that look on your application for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think once you get to like the 23, 24, people are kind of putting you in the kind of more sure in pile, and they kind of want to start offering you, and at that point, a seat, really considering you for a seat in a chair. But definitely 19 to 21, I think is competitive to apply for sure.
Right. Right. I've always kind of thought of it as you get a 1921 or above, and you're kind of like, okay, like I will most likely get
Get in,
an
yeah.
interview, and then it's all about how you present yourself in the interview. So it's almost just like just get that the check mark, check
Yeah,
that box.
check that box off. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just feeding into that, as a pre-dent, I'm sure you had a short list of schools that you wanted to apply to or anything like that. So, for Columbia specifically, do you guys have anything like an enrichment program or something like that for prospective students, whether that's impressions days or whether that's a master's program that serves as a feeder program? Like, are there any type of programs at Columbia that help prospective students that, of course, are looking at Columbia?
Right. Yeah. So we do. So I know through ASDA, which is one of our student organizations, we have a pre-dental day, and we had that back in the fall. So I think that happens every fall. And then we also have, and for that pre-dental day, I think that's it really goes out to the people in the area
Okay.
of, I guess, the New York City area. I'm not really sure how it works, because when I was, I think when I was at Bucknell, it wasn't on my radar. But I think what I'm gonna try to do is, in the following years, next year, is try to see what their process is of like recruiting people for that pre-dental day, and
Okay.
try to see if we can expand our pool. We also have, through ADIA, we have a mentorship program
Oh,
where you're
nice.
basically paired up with I don't know, people all around the country who are interested in talking to a dental student, and you kind of text and have phone calls, just establishing like a mentor-mentee relationship. And then I think we do have the summer health professional education program,
Nice.
that I think a lot of or some
It's like
that
S pep or something like S.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's in conjunction with the medical school, and I know a lot of other medical schools probably have that program as well.
Right.
But yeah, I know
Okay,
that.
so you guys have a few different avenues for any pre-dent, especially those looking at Columbia to actually get some enrichment and actually learn more about the school. So that's good. That's really cool.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, also, like, it's really interesting in, I guess, like, in today's world, just you could honestly just go on Instagram,
Yeah.
and look up like Columbia Dental. And I know, I myself have an Instagram page. A lot of my classmates have Instagram pages, and upper class students have pages, and literally just reach out to one of them and be like, I'm a pre-dental student. I just want to get some more information about Columbia or any dental school, um, for that matter. And I'm sure anybody would be really happy to talk to a pre-dental, a prospective student. Um,
For sure.
when yeah,
No, no, for sure. I definitely tell a lot of pre-dents to ask me advice for how to learn more about the school. Like Instagram might be your best friend in creating that network, so that you become more than just a name or something like that. You can actually build relationships with people when you go visit or go on your interview, and you actually see people that you recognize. So it's cool.
yeah, absolutely.
So next, you actually, now after you finally got the score you wanted your DAT, you applied to schools and you got your interview. Well, one, was Columbia your number, I guess, the one school you applied to, or did you apply to more schools? And then how was your interview process at Columbia?
Right. Yeah. So I did apply to more schools. I applied to, I think, 13 schools, And, you know, I met people along the you know, the interview, like road, the interview journey that had applied to 1, 2, 3, 4 schools.
Yeah,
So like very few. And then I met people who applied to 20 something, 30 something. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of schools.
yeah,
Um, you know, and that's a lot of essays to write. And that's, you know, a lot of time, and, you know, the application process is expensive. But I
very
guess ultimately at the end of the day, you have to assess how you feel as an applicant, get other people to assess you as an applicant, and determine, you know, it's like the standard you have. I guess like you have to apply to enough schools that you'll have a, you know, like a safety net and a good chance of that you'll, you know, at the end of the day, we all want to be dentists, or, you know, some dental specialist. And that's the goal. So um so yeah, I guess general advice is apply to you know, a solid amount of schools.
good mix.
Yeah, I applied to like 13 schools. And Columbia was actually ended up being my last interview.
Wow.
It was at like or I guess it was it was the last interview that I attended. It was like in the end of November. And uh a, I had a good amount of interviews before then, so I had like good practice almost. And I, you know, I don't want to I don't want that just to sound you know, like bad in a certain way. But I guess like the more interviews you have, the better you get at interviewing.
Yeah,
So
sure.
the interviews in the beginning of the cycle were equally as important to me, because I had no idea where I was going to wind up, where I was going to end up. But you know, the further along I went, the better I got at interviewing. um yeah, so I
I
don't
guess
know.
how was the if you could take me through like the day, like how was it when you actually showed up to the school? Like how I guess the course of the interview is it, you know, do they give you a tour at the beginning and then do like is it solo interviews? Is it like an essay? How is it?
Right. Okay. So you basically show up and you go into, you know, a room with like food and coffee or whatever, and you get taken up to your interview, which is like about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, with just one person, just one on one. And that's like right at the beginning. You know, you have your interview. And I honestly had like, I had a pretty, I would say, different experience at Columbia than some other schools. It wasn't really structured in any way. It was just kind of, we just chatted. It was conversation back and forth. There were like almost like no like formal questions. So when I left, I was a little weirded out. And I think that might have just been specific to my interviewer.
Okay.
I think in general, like interviewing for dental schools is very variable. You know, every interviewer has their own style, so you just have to be able to adapt on the spot.
For sure.
Um, but after that, yeah, they had like a tour of the campus, a tour of the buildings, and then some presentations about the usual financial aid and I guess the curriculum, military scholarships, all that stuff. But yeah, so the interview was right at the beginning, so it was almost like you got it over with right in the beginning, and then you could relax for the rest of the
Yeah,
day.
chill out. Take a
Yeah.
take a deep breath and relax, like you said. Yeah, definitely. So you know, so after you got into school and you showed up to campus, how was how was that first year experience, man? How was the curriculum? How was it, or so I guess so far, how's it been for the curriculum this year? How was it? You guys taking block style classes? Is it PBL learning? And then how are you guys getting introduced to the clinic so far?
Right. So for the first semester, so the way we had it, I guess in the fall of 2019. And you know, it does, I guess, change from year to year, because the administration gets feedback, and they change it. But I guess I can only say like how I experienced it. So we're with the medical students. We take almost all the same classes for the first year and a half with the medical school.
Oh,
Um, so you can almost think of it like the dental school just basically drops us into the medical school for a year and a half, and we have like a few dental classes, and then after that year and a half, we go full dental mode. Um, but the first semester was pretty much all medical classes and one dental class.
Mhm.
Um, and it was block style. So we had like 3 blocks.
Okay.
And then this semester, so in the spring, it is just kind of like a rolling schedule. So we just have exams that pop. It's no longer blocks. We just have exams that just pop up every few weeks, and quizzes here and there. And we're still in like the central medical classes, but we have more dental classes now.
Okay.
So they slowly add the dental classes in, and we started actual preclinic sometime in the middle of the first semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Do you guys you know exactly when you guys start seeing, heading into regular clinic, or when you would traditionally start seeing I guess assistant third or fourth years in the clinic? Can you guys do that as first years?
Oh, did you say assisting?
Yeah, do they guys do that? Do they allow you to assist in your first year?
Yeah, so we actually just started this class. I mean, now with
Yeah,
I
with
guess with
everything going on, but yeah.
with COVID-19 coronavirus, I guess things are a little weird. But ideally, we just started a class that we would go and shadow fourth year students and assist them and kind of observe how do they interact with the patients, so that that patient experience interaction, it does start in first year. And I think like as you get older, there's more and more opportunities. And the upperclassmen have been really nice. They've anytime we've been able to interact with them, they've all said like, please, like, come assist me, come shadow whenever you want, like whatever you want to see, let me know. We'll text you when we have a case. So I think the options are there, and the curriculum does allow for that a little bit.
Gotcha. Cool, cool, cool. So, just like a fun question, what is something, and I'm sure, it's a subjective because you only have the experience at Columbia so far, but what is something you feel is very unique about your school, or something that you know about unique about your experience so far?
Okay. So like two things come to mind. On the fun side, I would say it's really fun being in New York City.
Yeah,
You
can't
have
beat
you just
it.
yeah, like you just get on the subway, and you go downtown, and um, you know do whatever you want to do. There's always something to do. And The other thing I would say is because we have that medical curriculum. Um, you know, I guess I mean it's I think knowledge is power, and it's really cool having like all this medical knowledge that doesn't, I would say, doesn't always apply to dentistry. So there's a lot of these moments where we're like, oh, like I'm so glad that we have to know this, because this is going to be so useful in my dental career. But so we have a lot of those moments, and I think that's funny a lot of the time. But on a more serious note, I think that um, the more you know, the better, and it all is integrated in some way. And like oral health is linked to overall health.
Mhm.
And especially for anybody who wants to do one of these like specialties, like for example oral surgery, you basically get tested on like the entire preclinical medical curriculum.
Yep.
So it's useful for those people who want to do that. So I think it's a good thing overall. But yeah, sometimes it just makes for like a funny like in class moment. You're like, oh wow, like we really have to know this. We're
Oh man,
dentists.
yeah. Definitely. I definitely feel you on that, man. It's Speaking of oral surgery, man, that's crazy to me. I mean, it's not crazy, but going back to med school after you finish dental school, it takes a special type of individual to do that, man. But I commend them. I commend everyone that wants to do oral surgery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, extra 4 or 6 years, man. But okay, so just to finish up here, if you could, knowing what you know now, if you could go back and tell the version of you that was applying to school, that was really like trying to get into school and fighting and clawing to get that interview, um, what what advice would you give them? What advice would you give a younger version of Kyle?
Right. It's a great question. I think the first thing is just to not worry as much, to not stress as much. That's obviously easier said than done because knowing that we've gotten into school, like we're going to be dentists, it all, it's easier to say that now. But ultimately, like, you have to think about it. If you're a relatively solid student, you have, you don't have to be a superstar, but if you just have solid grades and a solid DAT, and you're, somewhat of an interesting person, you're not just a study robot. You have, passions and hobbies outside of school. You're an interesting person. In addition to being a solid student, I think you should be fine. I wish I go and tell myself that. Um, you know, yeah, I mean, if you almost just start early on in the undergrad process, or start a few years before you apply to dental school, just kind of map out, like, this is what I need to do. These are the scores and grades I need to get. And, you know, if you make those goals early, you make those goals early, you have time to achieve them, and, just go and live your life and be a interesting person, and don't stress too much, and it'll all work out. Um, you
Man,
know, yeah.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree. Just if looking back, I'm like, I stress so much for, something as simple as just putting in the work, and knowing that the result's going to come from doing the work that, you need to do. So it's
Right.
definitely, I definitely agree with you on that one, man. I couldn't say it better myself. But that's gonna wrap up the interview, man. I just want to say thank you so much again, Kyle, for taking some time out. We have a little extra time now, but thank you for taking some time out and speaking with me. But if anybody has any questions for you specifically about your journey or about Colombia and wants your perspective on it, how I guess what's the best way that our audience could get in touch with you?
Sure. So you can send me a direct message on Instagram, at Shtern.smiles.
Okay.
Maybe like put a thing in the description.
Yeah, now
And
we'll put it down there for you. Yeah.
and then, if you don't have Instagram, you could email me just at kshtern@gmail.com. Yeah, and I'm always happy to talk to anybody who's interested in applying to dental school. I'm very happy to give advice and kind of give feedback, because I honestly do think that one of the best things you can do as a pre-dent is talk to as many dental students um, as you can, to get their perspectives on what they did and how they're liking school, and, start making those decisions based on people's, like, make your decisions based off the people who did it, recently.
Right.
um, yeah.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. That's perfect, man. Again, on behalf of all the viewers out there, all the pre-dents that I'm sure got a lot of good, valuable information from you, Tyler, myself, and Future DDS, man, I want to say thank you again for doing this, man. You gave everybody a lot of good information and some solid gems to take into account as they, I'm sure, matriculate into dental school and get into the application process. But again, thanks. And for everybody else out there, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell down below, so whenever we post up new content. And stay tuned for the rest of the series. We have a lot of good schools and a lot of good information for you. If you have any questions for us, go over to Instagram, follow us at _FutureDDS, send us a DM there. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. But I think that's gonna be it, Kyle, man. Thanks again, bro.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yep. Okay, until next time, see you guys later.